Hello, Penticton. Let's take a few minutes to give you more information about the options that are being considered for the lake-to-lake route in the downtown section. Once you watch this presentation, be sure to fill out a feedback form at shapeyourcitypenticton.ca to let the city know your thoughts about the options. You may be wondering why we are taking an extra step to gather more feedback on the downtown section of the route. Early on, we recognized that the downtown section would be the most difficult to identify because of the density of the population and the potential impact to parking and businesses. We also recognized that this is the most important section, as it will likely be the busiest leg of the route and has the potential to bring great vibrancy to the area where it is located. Through this additional step in the process, we want to ensure that City Council has a good understanding of all of the perspectives in order to make their decision on the final location. Let's start by explaining how the options were identified. A technical expert reviewed the streets in the downtown to identify roads that would meet the criteria for an all ages and abilities route. Through this process, 5 possibilities were identified. One involving a combination of Martin and Winnipeg, one on Winnipeg, one on Martin, one involving a combination of Ellis and Maine, and one on Ellis alone. Each of the 5 were then evaluated according to a number of factors, including safety, road width, directness of the route, access to key destinations, parking impacts, and cost implications. Based on the findings and with the input of local experts and the community, we narrowed down the possibilities to 2 options for further discussion, one on Winnipeg and one on Martin. Let's take a closer look at each option, beginning with Winnipeg Street. The Winnipeg Street option incorporates protected bicycle lanes on both sides of the road. Both lanes of traffic would be maintained with this option. All on-street parking would need to be removed, affecting approximately 210 parking spaces. Concrete curbs would be installed to provide protection for the cyclists and to separate the bike lanes from the travel lanes. This would eliminate the right turn lanes at intersections. Access to driveways will be maintained through gaps in the concrete curb. Bus stops would be replaced by concrete islands floating in between the bike and travel lanes. Passengers getting on and off the bus would need to cross the bike lanes. Now, let's take a closer look at the Martin Street option. This option incorporates a 2-way cycle track on the west side. A cycle track is a separated bike route that allows for travel by bikes in both directions. 2 lanes of traffic would be maintained on Martin Street with this option. Approximately 90 parking spaces would need to be removed on the west side, and parking on the east side is not affected. The track is separated from travel lanes by concrete curbs. Access to driveways is maintained through gaps in the concrete curb. The existing bus stops would also be replaced with concrete islands. The islands would float between the bike and traffic lanes, and transit users would need to cross the cycle track. It is also important to note that the choice made for Section 4 in the downtown also has impacts for the 3rd section of the route that will travel down Fairview Road. If the Winnipeg Street option is selected, it will mean separate bike lanes are constructed. If the Martin Street option is selected, it will mean a 2-way cycle track is constructed along Fairview. In this presentation, we have provided a high-level view of what is being considered for each of the 2 options. If you'd like more information about how each option would affect the full length of Winnipeg Street and Martin Street, including possible locations for barriers, changes to intersections, and transit stops, please go to the project site on shapeyourcitypenticton.ca to view the preliminary concepts. Now let's take a look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of the Winnipeg Street option. Some people prefer the Winnipeg Street location as there is residential development which will provide greater access to cyclists living along the route. They also believe that this is a calmer road that would provide a better experience for cyclists. Others think it will have a greater impact on traffic as drivers would not have right turn lanes and through traffic would be delayed waiting for cyclists and pedestrians. There is also concern that with the removal of parking on either side of the street, vehicles may be pushed into neighboring areas. Some people prefer the Martin Street location as it is closer to the downtown and minimizes the loss of parking. It also lessens traffic impact as it maintains 2 lanes, allowing vehicles an option to pass buses that are stopped for passengers. The disadvantages of the Martin Street location are that parking is removed on the west side of the street and modifications may be required to the revitalized sections. These modifications may also impact patio space used by businesses on the city's boulevard. So, those are the highlights of the options. What's next? With the information gathered through this extra step in the process, we will confirm the preferred option for the downtown section. We will then share the preferred options for the entire route with the community for discussion before confirming the final recommendation. The goal is to complete the plan this fall in order to be ready for grants that are anticipated later this year. All of the detail provided in this presentation and more is available at shapeyourcitypenticton.ca. If you have questions, please email getconnected@penticton.ca or consider attending our online open house. Now, we want to hear from you. Please be sure to complete the feedback before July 12th. Thank you.